Australians, don't call your baby bonghead. It's not okay. It's banned. In fact, it's illegal.
Eavesdroppin.
Michelle!
Why did you sound like Kermit? Or Fozzie?
Because I feel like I'm introducing the Muppet Show with our very special guest, Michelle Margarita. I don't know what's going on. I haven't had alcohol, I promise.
It sounds like you have, but regardless, I'm thrilled that we're here for another episode of Eavesdroppin.
Here we are. We turned up for you.
We did turn up. We always show up for you.
We show up, we show out.
Okay.
Every single week. It's been non-stop, Michelle, since when? 2020? November 2020?
Yep.
You can count on us.
You can. I mean, we started in the thick of COVID. We had no idea what the fuck we were getting into, but here we are.
And there was some false starts, wasn't there, Michelle? There was some tears in the beginning.
We sounded absolutely shit. We had no idea how to actually record a podcast, how to do anything. But look at us now.
Wow, look at me now. Wasn't there an ad? Decore cares. Do you know there's that lady Elle is Savage, or is it Elle Savage? I don't know what she's called.
Elle Savage.
She's on
Instagram.
Instagram, thank you. And she's showing all these wonderful ads from the back in the day from Australia. Some I know, some I don't, because I think she might be a bit younger than me, and I left the end of the 80s.
Well, I saw a post from her, but I didn't hear it. I just saw it, and it was about the Decore ad, and I thought it was Decore,
yes,
decore,
I believe it was that. As I shampoo my hair,
right.
I really like Decore feeling or something. I didn't listen to it either because I was on public transport at the time. But yeah.
Well, what I will say is before we decide to go on, we need to bloody introduce ourselves.
We do tend to leave that a bit late, don't we, at times? I'm Geordie, just so you know, okay? I'm the tall one.
I'm Michelle. I'm also tall.
No, she's not.
In presence, perhaps.
She's got a big personality and a little tiny body.
God, you make me sound like an alien. Pin that.
Oh, is that giving us a hint of what we're talking about today, Michelle?
Could be, could be.
Well, before we do go on to talk about our UFO stories and alien stories today, Mish, I want to tell you, last week's episode, Guardian Angels, had a lot of love coming for us. In particular, a lot of love for our modern mystic Tamira. Everybody loved her guardian angel story. So we, as a result of Tamira and her wonderful marketing as well, we have to give shout outs to both Tamira and her clients and her good friend and fellow podcaster, Patty Kikos. Welcome. I hope I said your name right.
Welcome. Thanks for being an eavesdropper, and thank you, Tamira,
for sharing the love.
Really, for absolutely sharing the love.
Yeah.
It's very touching, actually, to have those stories.
Yeah.
And in fact, speaking of touching, if you're on the Patreon,
yes,
you will know we had really a very emotional story about guardian angels over on there. So if you have not signed up, why the bloody hell not?
Why not? If you do, that would be great, because then you can have a listen to the guest that we had on. We had a lot of other guardian angel stories, but we also had a moving, as Michelle said, real life story from friend of the podcast, Serena Bobowski. And in fact, we have a little snippet to show from that just to get you enticed. She's a health coach and an artist and the founder of Shunt Theatre Collective. You Londoners will know what that is from back in the day, which was performance and curating shows, and that was around between 1998 and 2014, I believe. And also she's the creator of something called the Bobowski Method, which is healing through body, mind and spirit connection. She's got other projects right now as well, like Bad Fruit, The Crone Interviews, etc., body evolution programs. But we're going to put links and stuff over on the Patreon episode. Here's a little snippet of that episode.
I certainly do have a guardian angel, and I know that she's my guardian angel because she's left me very clear signs. Anytime I've had struggles in my life, there was always a sign from her to give me the strength and put a hand on my shoulder just to say that I'm okay and everything's going to work out for me and in my life. So, my guardian angel is my sister who passed away 33 years ago today. We had a very close relationship growing up. In fact, we were born on the same day, August the 12th, 2 years apart. So she was born first, and I was born 2 years exactly to the day after her. I was born 3.5 weeks late, and my mother kept saying, oh, well, there's no way that that she's going to be born on Cara's birthday, because she's waited long enough so she can wait one more day. And in fact, my mom went into labor in the morning of Cara's birthday and was in hospital on her birthday, her second birthday, delivering me 3.5 weeks late. So growing up together, we were very, very close. I obviously came on the day that she was born as well. So we had a very, very close relationship. She had a brain injury, which disabled her mentally and physically. And I kind of grew up wanting to be the one who could be strong and be physical and do the things that she wasn't able to do in a way. So we slept in the same room together throughout our entire lives. And that felt like in our dreams, somehow we also shared something very deep. Every night we would say to each other, I love you, good night. And we were just there for each other in so many ways. She was always there for me to bring me calm and peace and serenity. And I was there for her to be grateful. I was so grateful for her. And also, I was very patient with her struggles, actually.
I felt, Michelle, when we did that Patreon episode, that when we put in her gorgeous story, we were a little bit flippant before that. I think I said bitch.
I think you were. Take it away, bitches, is what you said or something. And I was like, she's never said that before.
I
What?
know, it was new. And then I didn't realise the brevity of the story that was to follow. So I apologise to our listeners, and I apologise to Serena. I have actually apologised to Serena. Luckily, she didn't mind it.
Because she's a bloody trooper.
She's a trooper. Absolutely. She does live shows and everything. I can't wait to see one or even be in one. But going back to Tamira, Michelle, I just wanted to say something. She sent me some great fun things on the Instagrams.
Great.
To keep me titillated. For example, a list of banned baby names from Australia. Do you want to hear some?
Yeah, I don't actually quite know what that means, but all right.
Banned baby names means you can't call your baby Admiral. You can't call your baby Adolf Hitler.
Okay.
Can't call a baby Anzac, no. Or Australia. Baron's out, even though I know a man called Baron.
Okay.
That's out. Bishop, no, sorry, you can't be bishop. You can't be brigadier.
I have to say, I know quite a few Adolfs. Just saying.
Adolfs?
Adolf. Adolf.
Oh, God. But not Adolf Hitler.
Not Hitler on the end, but Adolf.
No.
And I would have thought that is absolutely out of bounds, but not in Germany. And not in a German-speaking part of anywhere.
No, they don't mind it.
Not really.
So, bomb is out. Yes, that's B-O-M-B, bomb. Don't call your baby bomb, and don't call your baby... Australians, don't call your baby bonghead. It's not okay. It's banned. In fact, it's illegal. Then there's brother. Don't call it brother. Don't call it cadet or captain or chief or Christ. Don't call it... This is weird. I don't understand this one. Chow Tao.
Chow Tao.
What's that? Chow Tao. This is all in like ABCs. I've just got the ABCs of banned baby names.
First of all, I'm going to say two things here.
Is it Chow Town?
No. When you said banned baby names, I thought you meant B-A-N-D. That's why I said, what do you mean? And then I realised it's B-A-N-N-E-D.
Yeah.
But then when you said that last one, Jiao Dao, it reminds me of Gojo, which was the Australian Eurovision entrant, with Milkshake Man, which was absolutely fucking fantastic, and Australia was robbed. Just saying.
Oh, no.
I'm going to link to that again.
Do link it. And because we also, on the Patreon episode this month, Michelle, you talked about Eurovision and all the scandals, didn't you, as well, which was amazing.
Yes.
Just a couple more names from that is Commissioner. Who calls it? I mean, that made me laugh.
Commissioner?
I don't know why. Yeah. I don't know why it makes me laugh. Colonel, Commander, Commissioner, Commodore, and Constable. Constable. Why would you call a baby Constable? No one's doing that. You don't need to make these stupid lists. Why?
Why?
Dumb.
I remember there was actually a set of twins called Benson and Hedges.
Oh!
And for Aussies from back in the day who were smokers.
They're fags.
They were fags.
Durries.
Cigs.
Ciggies.
They were cigs.
Cigarettes, a.k.a.
Benson and Hedges. Actually, individually, hi Hedges. No, it's still bad. Benson, not so bad.
No, Hedges is a bad name. Benson, you've got Benson
Yeah.
Boone, haven't you? Safka got in touch.
Okay, what did she say?
She solved the mystery that we were scratching our heads about last week when she mentioned Caitlin Doherty. Her name is
okay.
Caitlin Doherty.
Yes.
I had mentioned her, Michelle.
You
I
dumb
hoped it
bitch.
was you. I hoped it was you because I wanted to say you dumb bitch. But yeah, that was from the bad medicine episode. And I think I must have mentioned this, Caitlin, because she might have weighed in on the ancient body that gave birth part of my story. If you haven't heard it, go back to 2, 3, 4 maybe episodes ago. Because
I have to say, when we do our episodes, you can't expect women of a certain age to remember anything.
No.
It's like, I'm all in, and then the hard drive is full, and it's erased.
then we download. Yeah, we go to sleep and it's all gone. I turn up to work. I only work 2 days a week. And when I get there, I can't remember what I'm supposed to be doing. Sometimes I go to the wrong place. It's bad.
That was an actual dramatic pause and a mouth open there. Like, what the hell?
I know. It's bad.
Dear. Get back on those fucking mushrooms.
I think Caitlin Doherty, whatever fucking name is, I think she's a funeral director, and Safka loves her YouTubes because they're pretty interesting, and it's all about death and the macabre, because I think that Safka must be a goth. In fact, I know she is. She's also watching all manner of gruesome documentaries at the moment. There's one about Fred and Rose West, a British horror story on Netflix. I told her I'm not going near that. She also watched David Cassidy, The Last Session, and she said she sobbed her heart out. And The Curious Case of Natalia Grace, which is clips of that are all over Instagram if you don't know what it is.
Okay.
I'm not going to tell you, so there.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I am currently in Sweden, and all over the news right now is the fact that there is an American documentary. I don't know which network is putting it out. An American documentary called Evil Lives Here.
What?
And it's about none other than the Skara Kannibalen.
Oh, no way! Those bastards!
I reckon they found Eavesdroppin.
They've listened in.
They've listened. I'm telling you, no one outside of Sweden, in fact, no one outside of this bloody commune knows about it. We do it. Where's our credit? Thank you very much.
Right in, Michelle, right in.
I'm on a rant.
Well, we should write in and say, if you really want to hear it done right, go back to episode blah, blah, blah of season. Blah,
Exactly.
blah, blah, and maybe get us to host it.
Yes. When it's released, I am going to be commenting. You like this? Listen to Eavesdroppin.
Yes, because we did it
Because we
first.
were there first.
We were there.
We
weren't actually there.
He
Let's just
nearly
point
ate
out.
us.
No, don't laugh. Not laughing at, guys. Laughing with.
No, not laughing
Not
at.
laughing at murder.
Mate, if you're going to rip us off,
Include us. We're fun.
that's what Jen says. Jen the hen, my mother, that's her thing.
Yeah.
I'm fun.
I'm fun.
I'm fun. And you are fun, Mum. You are.
She is fun. We all agree. But so are we. And so if you really want to do a documentary about murder, then you've got to have fun hosts, right?
Yes, exactly.
Maybe?
Exactly. Maybe. We can also be serious.
Yeah, we can. Are we getting serious now, Michelle?
Well, I've got some alien shit. But before I get
God.
onto that, I am going to start by telling you about some news. Because we haven't done a little news roundup of news of aliens and UFOs and stuff.
Okay. Well, I'm sure it's still going on. Yeah, we haven't talked about them for a while, actually, so
No,
I'm
we
glad we're doing this
haven't.
today. You tend to dig up some really jaw-dropping bits of info, so I'm settling in.
Well, hold on to your hats, ladies.
What happened last night? Was it a visit from an alien?
There was an anal probe.
Did he take me away in his super ship? What an alien! What an alien!
So this is something that happened in Colombia recently. And allegedly, back in March this year, a strange spherical object was found in the town of Buga. I don't really know if that's how you say it. Buga.
Is it booger?
B-U-G-A.
I'd say booger.
Why?
I'm joking. I'm joking.
Bugger. It's bugger.
I'd say bugger.
Burger. I don't know. Anyway.
Burger.
Anyway, I don't know.
Oh, fucking hell.
Booga, it's Boogie. Booga is located in the Valle del Cauca region of Colombia. And at first you look at this and I think people thought it was a bit of part of a satellite or some kind of industrial thing until they looked up and close at it and they realized what this thing was this spherical object was not a piece of junk. It is this almost perfect metal sphere. It's smooth, it's symmetrical, it's completely sealed, which means no seams, no screws, no welding marks on the outside.
Weather balloon.
Weather balloon. This is not seen in the sky. This has been dropped and dumped on the ground and somebody has found it and picked it up in a forest in Booga.
And it's hard.
It's metal, but also it's not dented, it's not damaged, it has no signs of being affected by the weather, which is strange because, like I said, it was found out in the open and it's apparently made of some kind of metal alloy, but the composition of that metal has not yet been made public.
I knew you were going to say something like that.
What's really interesting is that scientists in Colombia have managed to X-ray this thing, and what they found inside, because they thought maybe it's hollow, whatever, inside it were 18 smaller spheres, evenly spaced around something that they have called a chip. It's like a chip structure. I'm not talking about a French fry. I'm talking about a chip.
Like a little microchip. Because I thought you were going to say something like, in my mind, because I race ahead, I've got the ADHD brain. I ran ahead and I was like, it's Davros.
What's Davros?
Or the inside of a Dalek. I'm seeing a Dalek and the inside of a Dalek. If you ever watched Doctor Who back in the 70s and 80s, there's a little like creepy little thing, like a little organic matter with an eye and a bit of like yuckiness, and that's what controls the Daleks.
Right.
And I imagine that was inside.
Okay. There's no eye, there's no Davros, but...
There's no organic matter.
There's no organic matter. It's 18 little babushka spheres in there.
What?
And I don't know. It's like a
see,
babushka doll.
Yes, like a Matryoshka doll.
Oh, is that what it's called? Matryoshka?
Matryoshka.
Please, for our Russian listeners, please get in touch.
Please help us.
Now, this thing does not resemble any known human technology. There is no evidence of machining, no circuit boards, no wires, right? But there are also symbols on the outside of this orb, and
symbols as in shapes, not symbols as in clash.
No, oh my God. Symbols as in markings. And they do not belong to any known language, including ancient languages. But researchers in Colombia ran the symbols through AI, and AI came up with this idea that the markings represent a message with a translation being, quote, "Humanity must come together. We are one."
We are the world. Thanks, Michael Jackson. Let me just say to our listeners, Michelle's eyes are wide telling us this story. We don't do video because we hate to ruin the mystery, but I just want to share with you guys, she is wide-eyed.
I'm wide-eyed, story. But I'm also calling fucking bullshit on that. Because, come on. Like,
why is it saying that?
Well, try harder AI is what I think, because I think it sounds really corny. But
too corny for you.
Too corny. But at this stage, there's no official explanation of what this is or where it came from. And no government has come forward to claim this object. No space agency has said, oh, we've lost a bit of equipment. And most importantly, the people who found this, the Colombians who found this in the forest, they have not turned it over to authorities. Oh. They're hanging on to it. And according to reports, they will not do that because they're worried it's going to get confiscated and never be seen again.
Forgotten about.
Yeah.
Could be spyware.
Could be spyware, yes. But in one report, I read that the guy who found it, he picked it up and he was fucking sick for more than a week.
Oh, God.
Afterwards. He was like ill. So I don't know what that means.
Yikes.
Because, I mean, of course, you know, governments, if they get their hands on this, it might just disappear. So I think it's kind of cool that these people who found it are like, it's mine. But on the flip side, this whole thing, like you said, Could be spyware, could be surveillance tech, it could be hoax. You know, no one's out there claiming it. Is it aliens? Is this like an alien golf ball? They're out there playing, you know, universe golf and one of their little balls just dropped here.
And the chip is a homing device, and the name of the golf club is what the symbols actually mean.
I don't know. But we will maybe never find out. Watch your space. If there's any more news, I will let you know.
Please do. Put an alert on for that one, Michelle.
So staying on a bit of a news theme here, there's another story that's been making the rounds on the internet because there's a guy behind a controversial report that was recently submitted to Congress. This guy is the one claiming the Pentagon has been secretly tracking UFOs for years. He's now gone public. His name is Matthew Brown. He used to work for US National Security. He had some kind of high up position at the Pentagon and the State Department. And he came forward in an episode of Weaponized, which is the podcast of Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp.
The what? A podcast?
Did I say podcast?
You did.
A podcast hosted.
By Jeremy Corbell. And then I missed all the interesting information. Jeremy Corbell and who was the other guy?
George Knapp.
George Knapp. We've spoken about both of those guys a lot.
We've talked a lot about them on this very podcast. So Matthew had been anonymous until going on Jeremy Corbell's show.
Yeah.
He's the one who actually wrote what has been called the Immaculate Constellation Report, which was a report officially added to the Congressional Record earlier this year. And in that report, Matthew claimed that parts of the US government have been running secret UFO programs completely outside the knowledge of Congress for decades. He said during the podcast, "This isn't what I wanted. I've probably just walked away from the life I'd hoped to build, maybe even a family one day. I don't know what's going to happen now. The risks are serious. People in my position can technically face life in prison or even the death penalty."
Yikes.
So I just thought, why the fuck did you come forward if you could have stayed anonymous, right? But he did, and he apparently did follow the rules. He went through the State Department's pre-publication review process before speaking out. They didn't block anything. He said the first time he came across the program, like I said, Immaculate Constellation, was back in 2018, completely by accident. He says he was working at the Pentagon. He was going through some classified files when he found something that clearly had been misfiled in a folder.
Oops.
And that's where everything started. He said one of the files was a transcript of a classified briefing with senators, US senators. There was one senator who, in that transcript, said, "Have they really been doing this for 60 years without anyone in Congress knowing?" So the American government has been secretly tracking shit for decades.
I've got issues. Hang on. The fact that it was a secret meeting with senators and it was transcribed, etc. I just feel like there'd be more whistleblowers. That kind of info is very hard to keep under your hat.
Well, he wasn't meant to see it.
No, I know, but the senator's in the room.
Maybe.
60 years worth.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know the answers. All I know...
It's just a little question mark I have.
It's a good question mark. I'm glad you're being a skeptic. Part of what Matthew Brown also said he saw on these mission reports, he said there was one that described a massive triangular-shaped object decloaked over Russian Navy ships in the Pacific.
So, that's weird.
It's so weird. He said the Russians seemed to be expecting it. It looked like the whole thing was filmed by a secret US submersible.
What?
And look, he believes that the ultimate goal of the Immaculate Constellation and the secret program was to create a system that was tracking every single UFO on the planet. And he mentioned something called alien reproduction vehicles.
What?
I don't know what the fuck that is, but he kind of explained it in an article I read that it meant that some governments may have built craft designed to mimic or reverse engineer UFOs.
Phew, because
I know.
Again, my mind went somewhere much darker than that.
He said the report includes sightings of orb-shaped UAPs, maybe like what we just talked about.
Yeah.
Huge triangular craft. He talks about the Pentagon running long-term surveillance ops while keeping Congress in the dark.
Wow.
He says it's not just about exotic tech. It's not something just cooked up in a lab. He just says, we're not alone, quote, and keeping that secret has come at the cost of human dignity, freedom, and progress.
Human dignity.
Curious language
Yeah.
to use. And Jeremy Corbell says this is just the beginning. He thinks there's now going to be a whole bunch of whistleblowers getting ready to speak out now that Matthew Brown has come out. And Jeremy Corbell said, quote, we've already interviewed some. The dam is starting to break.
Wow, Jeremy. Looking forward to all of that coming out. Not trickling, but gushing out. Sorry about that metaphor. That's not very nice.
Because shit's about to blow up, I think.
Okay.
And then I'm going to launch into something that I had never heard of. Maybe you have, Geordie. I was surprised I'd never heard about this.
Maybe you had and you just forgot. That's a possibility, isn't it?
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
really fucking possible. I'm going to do a light dive into this because there's a lot. It's what's known as the Ilkley Moor alien abduction.
Oh, Ilkley Moor Bar Tat.
What?
Ilkley Moor Bar Tat is a song that the Yorkshire men and women like to sing. It's their tune. It's their local tune. The Beacon Twins will know it.
Okay.
I'm sure. They're Yorkshire, aren't they?
They are indeed born and bred. I would say...
Ilkley Moor Bar Tat. I have heard it sung before, but I can't sing it for you now. But it's basically you're on Ilkley Moor without your hat.
Right, bar tat.
Bar Tat.
All right, Jane, Lucy, if you're listening in, do send us a voice note where you sing that tune. We'd love
Sing
it.
it. Yes, together. Twin it. Twin sing, please.
So, like you've just mentioned, Ilkley Moor, it's in West Yorkshire in the UK. It's a little bit bleak. Some people say there's something a bit eerie about it. And back in 1987, something fucking weird happened there, which to this day is apparently one of the strangest alien abduction stories in the UK.
Well, no, I have not heard this.
Yeah, I'm surprised I've not heard about it. I really hope that the internet has not hallucinated this. It kind of covers all the stuff we love, Geordie. There's a photograph. There's missing time.
Oh.
There's hypnosis. And a really reluctant witness. Something for everyone. So the reluctant witness is a guy called Philip Spencer. And I will say at this point, not his real name. Because
that's how reluctant he is.
really, since 1987, he has used a pseudonym to avoid the press, protect his family, you know, all of that.
Well, based on some of our previous stories, that he was probably the right way to go.
I would say so. But what we do know about this guy is that he is a former police officer, which I think is important to know because...
Gives him an air of authority.
Yes, and also through the very nature of his job, you know, he's kind of trained to be calm, to observe things. Mm-hmm. And as a Yorkshireman, I would imagine he is pretty level-headed, not prone to exaggerating shit, and the fact that he wants to be quiet. So at the time of the UFO encounter, he'd moved with his wife and his kid to a quiet part of West Yorkshire.
This isn't Todmorden, is it?
No.
Okay.
But on the 1st of December 1987, he set off early in the morning to walk across Ilkley Moor to visit his father-in-law in East Moreton. He took a camera with him because he wanted to take a few snaps of the beautiful wintry moor. He often carried a compass with him in the winters because...
Makes sense.
Thick fog.
Might get lost.
Really thick fog, yep. He had those two things on him, and by all accounts, it was a pretty ordinary kind of Yorkshire morning, lots of fog, whatever, and then it wasn't. As Philip made his way across the moor, he saw a weird little figure ahead of him.
Oh, no.
It stood about 4 feet tall, long arms, big bald head, spindly little limbs.
God.
He said it didn't move like a human. He said it was walking with a strange, almost gliding motion. So, what did he do?
Snapped it.
Grabbed his camera. Yep, took a photo.
Good.
Then this little thing darted away and disappeared behind some rocks.
Huh.
At this point, Philip was really confused about what he'd just seen, but he was, whatever, wasn't panicking, just thought, oh, it's a child. Or he thought, it's someone in a costume.
Because that's what you do out in the moors. Out on the way.
On a foggy morning.
Yes.
Yeah. But then things got even weirder because as Philip continued his morning walk toward Eastmoreton, when he arrived in the village, he was like, something's not right here. Things were off. And then he saw the clock tower and realised more than 2 hours had passed. So instead of arriving at the village at 8 a.m, it was after 10.
Gee whiz.
And he had absolutely no memory of where that time had gone.
Oh, no. I've got shivers, Michelle.
Yeah. So freaked out, he went home and later that afternoon, he developed that roll of film. The pic he'd snapped was even stranger than in his memory.
No.
And I've seen that pic. In the photo, you can clearly make out a humanoid figure standing in the mist. The image is kind of blurry. It's really grainy because it was taken on a 35mm camera in low light. But still, you can see that it doesn't look human. The arms are really long.
God.
The proportions are all really off. And the whole way this thing is standing, the angle of the limbs and the size and shape of the head, it's all just a bit wrong. Look, I've read comments online, and to some people, they're all saying, it's an alien, that's it.
Or is it a fairy? An elf?
No, when you see this, it's not.
A newborn foal?
When you see this, you're like...
I am really grasping at straws here. I do believe it's an alien.
Well, some people say it's an alien. Other people are like, it's just a smudge on your photo.
Okay.
Other people say
he saw it
it's
with
a
his
child in a
eyes.
raincoat. Yes. Other people think it's a trick of the light. Other people on Reddit are like, yo, gangster rapper. And I'm like, how is that looking like a child rapper? It's a bit strange. But anyway, this pic has been examined by photographic experts and ufologists over the years since 1987. And like I said, even though the resolution of this pic is quite shit, no evidence of manipulation has ever been found with this pic. And I will say, to me, it looks like a classic grey.
Okay.
Large head,
Yeah.
thin body. They've cleaned up a few of these kind of the grainy images. Almond-shaped eyes.
Yeah.
Although apparently Philip never talked about greys or aliens or anything like that when talking about what he saw that day. So Philip was really disturbed by that lost 2 hours. And he had this feeling that something else fucking happened that day.
Yeah.
So he eventually agreed. This is a West Yorkshire ex-policeman.
Yeah.
He eventually agreed to undergo hypnotic regression therapy.
Stoic, sturdy, upstanding member of the community, and he's now doubting his own sanity.
Yep, so he goes under hypno. And while he was under, he apparently described being suddenly paralysed by a blinding blue light shortly after taking the photo. He said 2 beings approached him.
Oh.
They were similar in shape to the thing he'd seen earlier.
Yuck.
They were short, big heads, long, thin, spindly limbs.
You'd want to black that out, wouldn't you?
Of course. He said he was unable to move, but he wasn't scared.
Oh, shit.
And he said he felt kind of this feeling of calm, as if he were being sedated almost. He said they brought him aboard a craft that had been hidden just beyond the ridge of the moor. Inside, he said everything was sterile. It was really brightly lit and quiet. And these beings communicated telepathically.
So
no words.
Similar to so many other stories that we've talked about on the podcast, other people have experienced.
Yep. He said they showed him a sequence of vivid images, and they were things like apocalyptic scenes of environmental destruction, starvation, war, global chaos.
That's what happened to Travis in the Fire in the Sky, isn't it? I can't remember his last name.
Yes. And he said it wasn't clear whether these were visions or
Predictions.
warnings
Yeah.
of what might happen.
Okay.
But he said he couldn't make sense of why they were showing him these things. Only that this whole experience felt very significant, like he was given a message or a mission, even
That's
though he
what they
didn't
say.
understand what it was
Yeah.
all about. Then he said he was returned to the moor, but he was facing the wrong direction and his compass had been reversed.
Oh.
So skeptics say, well, that's why he ended up walking in the opposite direction. That's why 2 hours went by, because he went round in circles. It was a foggy morning. But of course, once the press got hold of this story, ufologists from around the world went to West Yorkshire and they wanted to see that pic for themselves. The British UFO Research Association, also known as BUFORA, and other independent investigators all examined that photo. They interviewed Philip, and I guess the hypnosis session was videoed because they reviewed it. And a lot of those people came away thinking that guy is telling the truth.
Yeah.
Or he's at least telling the truth as he
believes it.
Understood it. I also want to say at this point, to be very clear, Philip is not his real name. This guy was not selling books. He did not seek any publicity. In fact,
He's not
he did
Philip Mantle.
everything to avoid it. No.
Publisher.
Apparently, he did not change his story at all during the years. He apparently passed multiple lie detector tests.
Wow.
And a lot of psychological assessments were performed on him, and they all concluded that he was of sound mind and not prone to fantasy or delusion.
Good Lord.
So what we have here is no actual proof, really, more than a photo that people want to debunk, a hypnotic regression, which, as we know from previous podcasts that we've done, not reliable. And we have his telling of the story.
His testimony, which is shockingly similar to so many others that we know about.
I know.
It's the same old thing. The same thing happened in the story I last told about Pascagoula incident with the extra people who
Yes.
also got abducted from memory that night.
Yes.
Remembered it later, many years later. And that's the same thing, that they remembered the feeling of being paralyzed, being shown images, being told that you're to deliver a message.
Look, I don't know if this is a hoax. I don't know if Philip was lost in the fog and lost track of time. I don't know if he got lost because those moors are kind of samey in the fog and people have been getting lost there for centuries. And was that weird little 4-foot figure really a person? Was it a smudge?
Mirage.
Was it a local child walking a dog? I don't know.
Yeah.
But the photograph is quite shit. Like I said, hypnosis is unreliable, but nearly 40 years later, this apparently is still a case that's being talked about. So what do you think, Geordie? Because I had never heard of this before.
Well, like I said, I had never heard of it either. And it's funny because we often do a lot of research to find stories to talk about.
Yes.
Why haven't we heard about it before? I might just do a little Googling later on. Just just for fun. Because I'd like to see the picture as well.
Well, I'm going to put that on the Patreon, so sign up, peeps.
Fantastic. Thank you, Michelle.
Space, space, baby. Space, space, baby. Space, space, baby. Space, space, baby. Space.
I'm going to flip the whole idea of aliens on its head today, Michelle.
Okay, flip it.
What do you know about Mars One?
What?
Mars One.
I thought you said Miles One.
Mile High Club, Michelle. What do you know about that?
Mile High Club.
Nothing. What do you know about Mars One? Something? Mars One. Have you heard
Mars
about it?
One. Is it? I don't know what it is.
No, you don't.
Is it a satellite? Is it a
No, none of the above. I didn't know about it either.
Mars bar?
I actually think Tamira put me onto this. I'm not 100% sure. Forgive me. It was a private mission to establish a permanent human colony on Mars that had everyone excitable back in 2012.
I have heard about this. Didn't know it was called Mars One, but fucking exciting. I don't know anything really about it. I've just heard about that concept.
I had young babies at that point, so I probably missed that news report. But believe it or not, thousands of people literally signed up to die on Mars.
Oh my God.
Hands up, who wants a one-way ticket to Mars? Yes, please. I'd like to be sent to a barren wasteland where I'll never feel the rain again and definitely perish in some horrific space-related incident. Think imploding face in a mask or xenoforms impregnating your chest cavity.
Horrific.
I know. Who wants to do that? Today, I'm going to look at the Mars One mission and the poor buggers who actually signed up for it, what their life might have been like if they'd actually gone, and the spectacular way it all went awry. So yes, Michelle, I flipped it. Humans are the aliens in this case.
Oh, that is true, actually. You flipped the script.
I flipped it. For those of you who weren't obsessively following space news in the early 2010s, let me outline the mission of Mars One. It was the brainchild of a Dutch non-profit organisation founded by a chap called Bas Lansdorp, whose goal was to establish the first permanent human settlement on Mars. The only drawback was it was a one-way trip, like I said earlier, and these people going would never see their loved ones or the planet Earth again.
Jesus, do they know this?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Plus, the whole thing would be broadcast as a reality TV show to fund the mission. Now, can you imagine tuning in for that? Day 52, oxygen levels are critically low. Marie and Dennis
are dead.
in the hyperbaric chamber. Giles is contemplating the existential dread of dying millions of kilometres from home. But people were gagging to sign up for this ridiculous trip, and they had over 200,000 applications once they opened the list in 2013. Can you imagine what the application form looked like?
Are you prepared to die? Yes.
Yes. Reason for wanting to leave Earth forever?
My ex-boyfriend.
Well, Matt Damon's a big inspiration for me. I'd like to be the first person to grow my own potatoes out of my poo, like he did in the film. Have you seen that film? The Martian.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Matt Damon's in a film called The Martian where he kind of is the only guy on the planet and he's growing his own potatoes out of his shit and things like that.
Lovely.
Who actually made it through to the final selection round? Michelle, I'll tell you. They were known as the Mars 100. They were highly qualified folk with backgrounds in science, engineering and medicine. And I guess you would need all of those things on such a mission. But then I had a peek on Reddit and found a forum called X-Space Lounge, which someone asked, "It is my understanding that when the colony has reached a certain level, lots of people with a diverse amount of skills and jobs will be selected. I'm right now learning to be a systems admin, so I'm wondering if that's a relevant career path." And their response to that was from a person called Aqua Rain, who said, "Musk said someone will need to make the pizzas, so I think it'll be fine." That must be about the other space mission, which is...
I was going to say, that sounds like a piss-take joke.
Yeah, possibly. But among the applicants were some interesting characters. There was Ryan McDonald, a 21-year-old physics student from Oxford University who applied. Imagine making that choice as your future before you've even had your first job. No marriage, no kids, no career.
I was going to say, he might not even have had his first root.
No, exactly. Sorry, Mum, I've
Jesus.
decided to go and die on Mars instead of give you grandchildren or see you again. Then there was Maggie Liu, an astrophysicist PhD student who made headlines when she said she'd like to be the first person to have a baby on Mars.
Oh, my
I know.
God. Death sentence for both of them.
Imagine giving birth in 38% of Earth's gravity.
And also, too, no future for that kid.
You'd be battling cosmic radiation.
Yes, and she's taking the choice away from that child. I don't
Not cool.
think I like that.
No.
Not cool.
There were quite a few Aussies and Brits in the running too. Josh Richards, a physicist and comedian, because they go together, from Perth, was one of the finalists, which makes perfect sense because if you're going to be trapped in a tin can with the same people for the rest of your life, at least bring someone who can crack a joke when the oxygen starts running out.
Oh, God. But also, too, he's a physicist. So he's a double whammy. Tick, tick.
Yeah, multitasking. So let's get down to the nitty-gritty of what life might have been like for these space pioneers had they gone.
So they didn't even try?
Go. Well, let me tell you the fucking story, Michelle. Hold on,
Hold your horses,
Nelly,
Nelly.
as you say. Firstly, they'd be living in tiny little pods. Each person was allocated just 25 square meters of living space. And for dinner, they would be eating mostly freeze-dried stuff and whatever they could grow in specialized greenhouses. And again, maybe they're doing it poo potatoes and insects, maybe, I don't know.
Ugh.
The day-to-day routine would have been pretty grim. Wake up, check your life support systems haven't failed overnight. What a way to start the day. And the angst, Michelle. I don't know if you'd ever relax, really, would you?
Look, I think if you knew I'm going up here and I'm probably not coming back, maybe that takes a whole bunch of stress away.
Well, they'd need to spend hours maintaining their equipment. So this is their day, basically. Maintain your equipment, grow food, conduct experiments, deal with the psychological toll of knowing you're one solar flare away from being microwaved alive. Not to mention the radiation. Mars has no protective magnetic field like Earth does. So these colonists would be exposed to about 60 times more radiation than we get here on Earth. There's not enough SPF that they could carry with them to support that.
Jesus Christ. Think of the wrinkles.
Yeah, well, it's like getting a full body x-ray every week.
Ooh.
Basically be a walking glow stick after a few years.
I often wonder about air hosties. They're going through those x-ray machines multiple times a day.
And they're up there close to the radiation.
Yeah.
And let's not forget the gravity situation, not for the hostesses, but for these colonists, potential. Mars has about, like I said before, 38% of the Earth's gravity, so your muscles and bones would start to waste away.
Jesus.
The communication with Earth would have been a bit shit too. Depending on where Mars and Earth are in their orbits, messages could take anywhere from 4 to 24 minutes to transmit one way. So you couldn't really have a suitable conversation.
No.
There'd be a lag.
If it gets there at all.
Exactly. And that would be so frustrating for these colonists that it might stop them communicating altogether and then leaving them completely cut off.
And you'd never be able to talk to your loved ones. With that lag, you'd be like, hi, how are you?
And then wait for
There's
another
no
half
chit
hour.
chat. Yeah.
But despite this reality check, why did Mars 1 not work out? Well, it was supposed to launch in its first uncrewed mission in 2018, followed by humans landing this year, 2025. But back in 2015, there was an MIT study that came out that basically shot the entire Mars 1 plan to smithereens. It said the colonists would likely suffocate within 68 days. Not great telling, Michelle.
Oh, no. You are essentially tuning in to watch people die.
It's a snuff film, yeah.
Ugh.
On the financial side, it was even more of a disaster. Mars 1 claimed the mission would cost about $6 billion, but space experts said that was unrealistically low, way too low.
Oh, God.
For context, NASA's Curiosity rover mission, which was sent up to determine if Mars was ever habitable and could have supported microbial life, that cost $2.5 billion, and that's just a little robot the size of a car.
Right. Okay. So times that.
By a lot more.
A lot more.
Yeah.
Yes. And you get a lot more billions.
We're not doing the maths here.
We don't
not
do
here.
the
We're not a
maths.
maths podcast.
No.
Go somewhere else for that. Also, you know, humans needing oxygen, food, water, and mental health support for space madness. You know, that's going to be expensive. How are they even going to get sessions? You know, they'd probably have to take someone with them, but then they'd be suffering as well. It all seems too not well thought out. And the selection process was a bit dodgy too. Some applicants claimed they were offered better positions in the program if they donated more money to Mars 1.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say if they slept with the boss.
One finalist, Dr. Joseph Roche, revealed to the press that candidates got points for donating money and for buying merchandise of Mars 1. So that would bump them up the list.
What? I bought the T-shirt.
Yeah.
Like, ridiculous.
And the mug. And the reality TV deal that was supposed to fund the whole thing just never materialized. People probably didn't want their hands dirtied by that. It's too dark.
It is too dark and it's too scary. You don't know the outcomes. I mean, reality TV outcomes are already uncertain.
You can't manage it. You can't send people in. Pull him out, pull him out. You can't do that. They're not coming back.
I mean, you think about the unintended consequences of the reality show with Miriam. Going on a date with
There's
Miriam.
Something about Miriam, yeah.
Something about Miriam. And who could have predicted that? This has nothing that you can predict. So it's too risky.
One small step for man or one giant step too far for mankind, I think.
Yes.
So that could be it really for the TV show, and no one wants to get that on their CV.
No, Endemol's not biting.
Because it's Dutch, so I'm imagining
Yeah.
it would have been Endemol. The final death knell came in January 2019 when Mars 1 Ventures, the for-profit arm of the operation, was declared bankrupt with debts of around $1 million, which is but a drop in the ocean compared to the billions they actually needed to go to Mars. And overnight, the dreams of those would-be Martians were crushed, and off they went back to working in systems admin and dealing with Earth problems such as climate crisis and all the bloody wars. Sorry about it. But even with all the trouble down here, I'd say most of them probably dodged a massive bullet.
Yes, I think they did. You know, while you were talking about this, it reminded me of a story I read this morning about that submersible that imploded.
Yes.
Oh, what was it called?
The Titanic? No, he went down to look at the Titanic. There's a guy from round my way that went, him and his son.
Yes, they were mentioned,
locals.
this morning in the article that I read. And they were talking about the wife of the guy who captained it. There's footage of her laughing and joking and trying to get in contact with her husband on that submersible. And then you hear her apparently saying, "What was that bang?"
Oh, no.
And they're saying that was probably the moment that the whole thing started to implode, and she had no clue. It's a really, really heartbreaking story, actually. And I mean, we all know what happened next. It was just horrific. That could have been the fate of these people going up in Mars One, or worse.
Yes. Or worse.
Not even making it there, which might have been a blessing in
godsend.
disguise. Yeah.
Really. Because what if they got there and there were aliens, or not aliens, but the original inhabitants of Mars to deal with?
Yes.
Right? We've just been talking about that. There have been all sorts of sightings, Michelle, in photos taken by these Mars rovers that I mentioned earlier. One of them is the Mars rat, which I'll send you a link to, that people spotted in a photo taken by the Curiosity that I mentioned before in 2013. But sadly, it was just a rock that looked a bit rat-like.
A bit ratty. A ratty rock.
Yeah, ratty rock. Then there's the Mars face, detected by Viking 1 back in 1976, which was a mountain formation that looked like a human face. You'll have seen that in various alien books and stories and magazine articles, because that just revealed to be a hill, which was really disappointing. But what's the legacy of Mars One besides being a massive cosmic fiasco?
Don't sign up to dumb shit. I don't know.
I think it showed just how desperate some humans are to be part of something historic, even if it means certain death. And it also showed how rubbish we are at realistically assessing the challenges of space travel. We've watched too many science fiction films where people zip around the galaxy going into hyperdrive willy-nilly, like they're popping down the shops or something. So the reality would be more like trying to live inside a malfunctioning vending machine for the rest of your life while slowly being poisoned by radiation, which personally I find unappealing.
That sounds like a grim, long, excruciating death.
Yep. And all being televised as well.
But also too, like you say, television and televised, I wonder if people were seduced by the idea of, I'm going to be on TV.
Could be. But despite Mars One being a complete shambles, space exploration is actually continuing. NASA's Perseverance rover is up there right now, Mish, and there are genuine plans to send humans to Mars in the 2030s. Thanks, Elon and SpaceX. Let him go, I say. Off you go, Elon.
And take
you
Trump.
Can go.
Take Trump with you.
This trip, though, would be more of a go, have a look around, plant a flag, come back, tell everybody how amazing or awful it was, that kind of thing. Though sadly, for those hoping to see the back of certain billionaires, yeah, they're going to come back. Like Jeff Bezos, though. Why not get a rocket for him to go into space for a bit longer than 10 minutes next time? So that's it for Mars One, but don't be disillusioned, space fans. Keep dreaming of a trip to the Red Planet, because NASA has engineers and scientists currently working to develop technologies that will help astronauts to one day live and work on Mars and safely return home to Earth. It's not the same as Elon Musk's plan to create a permanent human colony on Mars, though, because he's thought Mars One and thought, that's a great idea, let's go.
Yeah.
Because he turned the car industry round. Then he launched new rocket engine designs, which hadn't been done in more than a decade. So he's showing NASA how private industry could leave them in the dust. So will Mars be the new space race? That is the question.
Maybe, but probably not in our lifetime.
Well, they're talking about the next 10 years, Michelle.
Maybe to get it started, but you can't build that shit quick.
Musk can. He's got the money.
Well, maybe, actually. He got the money, honey. But you know what? Speaking of Musk and Trump and all this kind of stuff, like I said earlier, I am in Sweden, and there's this thing, I don't know if I've only just heard about it or if it just happened, but there are these two comedians called Philip and Frederick, and I think they're a little bit like Ant and Dec. They are always pronounced together. They're always seen together. It's Philip and Frederick. Like Ant and Dec, they've done loads of reality TV shows and game shows and all that kind of stuff.
The nation's sweethearts.
Kind of. They were recently on a show, like doing a TV show, and they were shown a picture of a small, very blonde child, and they had to guess who this child was. And they guessed it was a female Swedish TV show hostess. Well, she's more like a news reporter, but she does breakfast TV and all that kind of stuff. Gorgeous, gorgeous lady. It was later revealed it was Donald Trump.
Oh, really?
Oh, it caused big news here. But apparently Donald Trump looks like a very attractive young girl when he was a boy. Look what he's become. But back to your story of Martians. Absolutely fascinating. I would never have signed up for that.
No,
Eavesdroppers.
nor would I.
Would you have signed up? Do write
Would
in.
you have? Exactly. Please write in. We would love to know.
We would love to know. Because sure as shit, I'll tell you now, I ain't signing up.
Sure as potatoes and shit. Neither am I.
Exactly.
Well, that brings us to the end of this episode, actually, Michelle, and you guys, you eavesdroppers who we love so dearly. But just remember, wherever you are,
whatever you do,
just keep eavesdropping.
Eavesdropping.